It is July 27th, 2024. For me, it was a peaceful Saturday so far, just running errands and doing chores around the house. And then I just suddenly remembered, and I can't believe I forgot about this, Hall H Comic-Con, Marvel Studios. You already know how this goes. And as for the internet flooding, you already may know what this news may be. And if you're not, you've been living under a rock 1 minute too late. But this is where I'm gonna go into the details and share my thoughts on these matters. So, Marvel Studios, what have they been up to recently, and what have they revealed in this year's San Diego Comic-Con Hall H? So, I'm just minding my own business, and then when I went to YouTube and they says Marvel Entertainment this amount of time ago, and it says just announced in Hall H Marvel Studios, the Fantastic Four First Steps begins production on Tuesday. They did recently share a photo of Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Joseph Quinn, and I always forget his name. I don't want to do him dirty, so I'm just gonna look it up right now. Ooh, come on. I know he's here somewhere. Oh, played by, and this one is I'll just sum it up to this. Is the guy who also played Micro in The Punisher. He has a long name. But yeah, I'm glad that he's going to be playing the Thing as well. And, they shared that photo. And they just revealed, the Fantastic Four not too long ago. And now they're just added a little more of an addition to the title, The First Steps. Or First Steps, I should say. And I wonder, I'm trying to decipher what could this mean. Because I have no conclusions as to why, they resulted in First Steps, because Marvel Studios, they often change names here and there. I think the most ridiculous one was Agatha, like House of Harkness, Covenant of Chaos, Darkhold Diaries, and then it's just a marketing thing. It was Agatha all along. And Marvel Studios, they like to do like that play thing, and it's kind of like an entertaining way for people to catch on, see the latest updates, and be entertained by all this marketing stuff. Now, for the First Steps, I want to say my first thoughts are maybe less of a backup here, but it's a theory that I have going on. Maybe it's kind of like Spider-Man Homecoming, where it revolves around Peter Parker's homecoming time while he's trying to balance being approved to being an Avenger, while also balancing out his superhero lifestyle and school life and life at home, while also taking on the Vulture. And not only was it homecoming for Peter Parker, but it was also homecoming for Spider-Man, to be in this big world, in a world that it sounds like. Sorry, I had a meeting burp. It sounded like one of those, in a world where all these superheroes collide together. Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, Black Widow, Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver, and all these characters all together in the same universe and one timeline at this point. Where we have all of them having their own journeys or having shared journeys with each other. Spider-Man is finally joining it into that fray. I wonder if that's sort of like a similar sort of inspiration that Fantastic Four has for the Fantastic Four First Steps. I don't know. I'd say it could really be that sort of thing where, it's Marvel Studios' turn to have their own adaptation, but they have to be really careful, because not only do they want to integrate that into the MCU, but this is an introduction, because I felt less and less excited for the Fantastic Four because of how the production has been going, and the quality of the movies and the TV shows that's been recently going on before the strike, before the or after the pandemic actually, pardon me. And it just makes it less exciting. Like I do want to see these characters join into the same reality as the Avengers, or all these street superheroes like Spider-Man or Daredevil. Not that they might have like screen time anytime soon. Slight possibilities in Avengers, I don't know, but it'll be fun to see all the resources that's being used, all the companies that's being mentioned, or all the mentions of like characters that may have influenced them to have these sorts of like science experiments. And that's always like something interesting, because if we can't have Reed Richards collaborating with Tony Stark, then we're gonna have, then we got to do something with it. We have the materials right here. Maybe it like things aren't like as lined up as we wanted them to be like years ago, or even now times when Kevin Feige says anything is possible. I don't think that's one of those things. Maybe in a what if episode, but hopefully it's high quality and more down to earth, and less sporadic of results. Anyway, it's kind of interesting. And first steps, I want to guess for a part of the plot of, let's see, the story. I want to say they're taking deeper, because I remember Kevin Feige or somebody that was throwing this around the internet. Maybe it was from a junket or whatever. There was the potential setting where this particular Fantastic Four is going to be taking place in a different timeline, and I could see a yay and a nay, and it also takes place in the 1960s, I believe, where it almost feels like it's playing it safe, but at the same time it doesn't feel too grounded with like the main timeline, which I personally would go with, but not for the sake of putting it in the same timeline. It was like, oh, that around this time, that's where this character is doing this, and this character is being born, and all this stuff going on. And I think it's like a nice, really twisty spin of an opportunity. That's one of the uses of the multiverse I haven't seen Marvel use yet, and I think it's very refreshing. But I don't want it to like loosen stakes, because I want to care about these guys. I wonder if they're like in the main reality of the MCU, if these guys exist, or maybe not. Similar to like how Oscorp doesn't exist there, but like in a different reality it does. And maybe, and they said they might eventually like, I don't know if anybody said this, but I can see the potential cause of their science experiments accidentally crossing them over to the MCU, because there was like a few comic book references, mostly for the 2015 Fantastic Four, where they inspired from, where they went from like their reality to like another one, and it's called like the negative zone, or that might be the, I'm thinking of all this at the top of my head, so I'm not looking up resources at the moment. The negative zone, or Dimension X in the movie that they tried to do it with, which, negative zone kind of sounds better, but even if we did get that, it wouldn't have made the movie any better. Let's be real. For Fantastic Four, that's what I'm guessing. That's sort of like loose inspiration. Part of the plot, nothing, maybe just like second nature sort of thing, but not a primary thing to look at for the characters or the story or the setting. Maybe I'm just spitballing here, and that's all I got for Fantastic Four. Now let's move on to the next announced one. Although it's kind of crazy how it's one summer from now, or next summer. Trying to sound smart there. Next summer, that the movie's going to be released, and hopefully it lives up to the hype, because this is Marvel Studios iteration. We've had like an interesting take from Fox with the 2005 one. The one in the 1990s was basically a trying to claim the rights, continue having those rights for Constantine Films and Fox. I don't know if Fox wasn't involved with that at the time, but I'll have to look that up later. But I know Constantine Films was, what was Stan Lee approved, and I wonder if Stan Lee had any regrets, while he was alive. And then 2015 hit, and that had like all sorts of slews of problems, and now we're waiting for this iteration from Marvel Studios, Marvel Cinematic Universe version of Dr. Reed Richards, Sue Storm, Johnny Storm, and Ben Grimm. And I want to see, because I always liked seeing how Marvel is taking doing their spin on things, with for example, Professor Charles Xavier's powers, with like how he's using it, and you see like all these effects in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, and it's easily comparable with how Fox did it with their X-Men movies. For Fox, it asks the audience to believe, and that's a very easy task to do, while also having like some sort of like effects, and it's almost like a bear with us sort of thing, like from low to high degrees. And for Marvel Studios, I like the visual representation of how they did like Charles Xavier's telepathy. But I wonder if we're going to get that similar sort of thing, or maybe they're going to do something different. I wouldn't expect it as sticking around. Anyway, sorry for the tangent. Back to, the spin of Marvel Studios with this Fantastic Four. You got the MCU, you got, brief references of MCU of collections, they want to use sparingly. I believe that they're doing, because they seem very careful around, because the production just felt sloppy every time it kept, going up to date before the writer's strike, which is basically the wake up call for a bunch of Marvel Studios projects, which I'm really hoping they earn back, like, some fans out there, like, of course there'll be some fans that left or checked out after this project or that project, but it's just gonna keep losing fans, viewers, audiences, critics, and it just loses loyalty. And the writer's strike, it's like an unofficial thank you, but I'm glad they're doing their best. You could tell they're trying their best to get back to the good, not necessarily get back to the good old days, but to better themselves once again. So that's interesting. Now, next, according to my YouTube feed, what popped up first is just announced in Hall H, the Russo brothers return to direct Marvel Studios' Avengers: Secret Wars. Only in theaters, May 2027. It feels so far away, and I want to get closer to that, but at the same time, it just makes you feel older. And it's just, oh man. And it would make me feel how time flies by just to even get to that specific moment. Anyway, sorry for my existential there. The Russo brothers returns to direct Marvel Studios' Avengers: Secret Wars. The Russo brothers, I remember it was like a press junket where they were asked would there be an opportunity for them to return to Marvel Studios to direct something, and they don't really have any plans nor desires unless if it was Avengers: Secret Wars. And I guess the prophecy has been fulfilled. They are not just coming back for Secret Wars, but they're also coming back for Avengers 5, which we'll get to in a bit. I'm pretty sure you guys know the title, but just for dramatic purposes, let's just keep it concealed for now. I think it's very interesting for the Russo brothers to come back at this time, because I do feel like every now and then like directors and producers and filmmakers are gonna need to take a break here and there, although we would like a spin on how they would interpret this sort of scenario, this sort of plot of what the writers and maybe the directors as well has come up with. But because different directors are going to have different spins on it. And I remember when back to like the Fantastic Four one, I remember John Watts was originally supposed to do Fantastic Four and direct Fantastic Fours, and then he left the project because he wanted to break from superhero movies. I get that. I wished for a John Watts sort of, vision on it, especially with the great jobs he's done for the Spider-Man Home trilogy, Spider-Man Homecoming, which he was doing his best to do a great movie. And then Spider-Man Far From Home, he has to deal with like the after effects of Avengers Endgame, and also make a proper Spider-Man sequel. And Spider-Man No Way Home, which was like so up in the air and so mysterious and so secretive, and he's like tangling all these cast of characters and all these secrecy and elevating Peter Parker to where he is and how we felt as general audiences and critics. And I think he's done a very wonderful job. And you have Taika Waititi's interpretation of Thor. You have what's his name? Kenneth Branagh's interpretation of Thor in the first movie. My God, that was a hard one to say. And you also have, what was his name? Who directed Thor: The Dark World? Then again, at the top of my head at the moment, I don't have anything pulled up right now. Dark World. Let's see. Director Alan Taylor. I don't know who he is. I wish I do, but hopefully I can pop up his filmography and see what he has in there. Hopefully something good. And I wonder what it would have been like if we had like any other director be put in the seat to help put together all this culmination. Although messy, it does have like a lot of stuff going on for it, and you can't deny there's some good stuff in there as well, and maybe omit some of the bad stuff or just not think about it and just focus on the good and grab make the most of like the good resources that we've had for not just like the Infinity Saga, but the Multiverse Saga, and maybe cherry pick some stuff here and there. But I want to see what the Russo brothers has in mind to how they're going to pull this thing off, not just for Secret Wars, but for the other Avengers movie, which we're going to get to right here. And it's going to be called, let's see, let me pull up the thing. Just announced in Hall H, the Russo brothers return to direct Marvel Studios' Avengers Doomsday, starring Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom. Only in theaters May 26th. Bomb blast. Yes, they are back for the Avengers Doomsday. And I have been thinking about how are they going to pivot this. That's what everybody's asking. Who's going to play Dr. Doom? How's this going to, go to Secret Wars? What's going to happen to Kang, the character of Kang? If it's not going to happen in the Avengers movie, how is this going to happen in any other project? That's my question, indeed. Because I do like the Kang stuff, although it's messy. It's not that organized. But there are moments where it has worked, where like He Who Remains for Loki, like the Avengers don't have to meet him, but it does impact one certain character that kind of has like this whole story around it, or part of the story around it, which is He Who Remains for Loki. And and there's Victor Timely, and then there's like the Egyptian, like the ancient Egyptian Kang, and then you have like the futuristic Kang. And you also have like other Kangs, which is more of revealed in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Although most of it is just stupid, and there's just like hype, but like, okay, that part was silly. I did like the post-credit scene. But anyway, it has to have at least some sort of influence for Doomsday, but I don't think they're gonna go in that direction because I want to see the storyline for Kang finished. Like if he's not gonna have this if he's not gonna have a proper finale in an Avengers film, have it sort of like in a new project or I doubt it's going to be in a new project, or have it result in something else, because you just started this thing, you built it up, it was supposed to impact a bunch of other characters, and there were some rumored for Shang-Chi, there was some rumored for What If, there's also some rumored for Moon Knight. I don't know. the Egyptian history, who knows. But if we're not gonna have Jonathan Majors, my gosh, he's plastered in there pretty well that I accidentally said Jonathan King. Anyway, there was this idea thrown around where if we're not gonna have Jonathan Majors, then we could just have other actors portray different versions of King, and I was really in favor of that idea. I think that's a solid idea, and people are like, oh, we could have Denzel, we can have John Boyega, we don't have to choose one replacement of King, we could choose many variations of King, and maybe some of the same actor. I don't know, but I think that's a pretty good one. But how does this relate to Avengers Doomsday? Because he stole the spotlight. How are we going to end this? And is this going to impact, the Fantastic Four and the multiverse? Doctor Doom, is this going to sway Doctor Doom into, the pinnacle of, the multiverse saga, which is Secret Wars, which is based off Secret Wars. My assumption is Secret Wars 2. You could just have Secret Wars, but it'll be easily thrown into a hour-long What If special, sort of that caliber, if you asked me. But if you have Doctor Doom, if you have Secret Wars, we're obviously talking about Secret Wars 2, which is multiversal collateral damage. Doctor Doom is reigning supreme in heights that nobody has ever imagined, and he managed to accomplish. I know about the story, but I'm not gonna get into it, just for the sake of not spoiling you guys. But some of it was some of the plot points may have been teased in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. I don't know if they're gonna go that route, because with the multiverse, I feel like there's less stakes, but they made the stakes in Secret Wars 2 palpable to where it's no laughing matter anymore. It's you really gotta save your reality. And that's as far as I'm gonna say. It gets pretty dramatic. And for Doctor Doom to return, I wonder who's gonna pull it off. The internet, as far as I've seen, the internet was in favor of Cillian Murphy, which I would cast my vote for Cillian Murphy as well. He did pretty good. I mean, Peaky Blinders, and he was in Quiet Place Part 2. He was in Dunkirk. He played Oppenheimer. He plays different sorts of characters, but it's not free-handed. It's more focused. It's more in favor for him, but at the same time where he can really shine and balance out and expand more upon his repertoire. And I thought, with Doctor Doom, that would be an interesting take for Marvel Studios, an interesting take for Cillian Murphy and his career. And, I wouldn't expect him to be more of the Marvel guy, but somebody who could take the role, really make it lively, and also make it grim, and also have the most fun with it, while also, delivering what needs to be delivered of Dr. Victor Von Doom, for both, possibly making his debut in the Fantastic Four, and what's going to result in Doomsday, and maybe conclude in Secret Wars. I don't know, but we didn't get Cillian Murphy. However, we did get what I didn't think I unintentionally ruled out, because who would have thought? He took off his helmet. The actor who will portray him at Comic-Con, along with a bunch of other people who are wearing Doctor Doom outfits as well, Robert Downey Jr. Yeah, we didn't get Cillian Murphy's Oppenheimer, but we got the antagonist of Oppenheimer. And I didn't think about this sort of possibility at all. I don't think anybody else has. There was rumors around the internet. Robert Downey Jr. was in talks with Marvel Studios. We all assumed he was going to return as Iron Man or something. And maybe, who knows? Maybe he might. I just hope it's not like a cheap sort of method. But he's chosen to play Victor Von Doom, and I'm excited to see how he's going to take it. Although it's going to be a challenge for not just for him, but for all of us audiences as well, because he's going to have to discern Tony Stark and Dr. Victor Von Doom, because we hear like the fluctuations, we hear the collectiveness, while also the swaying, playboy sort of guy that is Tony Stark, and the genius intellect that he rambles on about, because Victor Von Doom is pretty a smart guy as well, and he is no laughing matter. And how is he going to bring this, how is he going to, alter his voice, but also make it feel natural, and it's like a no sweat sort of thing? I can pull this off. How is Robert Downey Jr. Is going to pull off Dr. Victor Von Doom? That's what we're going to have to find out later on in the years, and I'm very excited to see. And this sort of scenario reminds me back in 2018, 2017, 2016, around there, around that time, because we just had Deadpool come out in 2016 February, Valentine's Day weekend, and they revealed that they're gonna have Cable in the sequel, and they knew they were gonna have a sequel, and they don't know who they're gonna cast. And while for Marvel Studios side, they have everything going for the MCU. Everything was top notch. Everything was successful. People were looking forward to the next project. Everybody was super on the hype train for Marvel Studios. Whatever they had to throw at us, and we would just eat it up, and it was just great times until it wasn't. Anyway. Yeah, and of course you got, Thanos, who's the primary villain for Avengers Infinity War, and he did what he was going to do. And it was a huge movie at the time, and 2018 was a pretty huge year for, blockbuster movies, and most importantly, Marvel movies, superhero movies as well. You got Aquaman, you had the Spider-Verse movie, you had Avengers, was it Spider-Verse? I may have the wrong year, but you have Avengers Infinity War, you have Black Panther, you got Ant-Man and the Wasp, you got Aquaman, and we had a bunch of bangers, and some okay ones, but still enjoyable. And then one of them was also Deadpool 2, and I remember at the time I wonder who are they going to cast Cable, and then the internet, and then it was revealed on the internet, I don't remember where, most likely Comic-Con. Cable was going to be portrayed by none other than yours truly, the one who plays Thanos, Josh Brolin. And I thought about that, and I was what I can't believe I ruled that out, but not intentionally, because he's already playing Thanos. Everybody's going to be familiar with Josh Brolin. It's going to be easy for those, who doesn't really receive the resemblance between Cable and Thanos, portrayed by the same actor. And, he has to differentiate both characters, especially when they have, sort of, cold sort of personalities. And as different the characters may be and played by the same actor, I think, it needed Josh Brolin, because Thanos needed, whenever he's in distress, he's imagine the Josh Brolin sort of tone. And then, you got Cable traveling back in time. It's I love that sort of effect. And, with Josh Brolin, it just makes everything's more, the more sweeter. And I can't believe, we haven't really thought of that. And this news from Robert Downey Jr. coming back to Marvel Cinematic Universe, but as Dr. Doom. That reminded me of, the whole Josh Brolin, Thanos, and Kevin. And of course, being Deadpool 2, they were going to point that out. I was zip it, Thanos. Yeah, that was an obvious one. And, you know, the ones who get it. Then the ones who didn't, I pity the poor soul. But they will get it. Eventually. Hope so. So, which, you know, reflects to the question I had. How is Robert Downey Jr. going to pull this one off? Because we're going to be, like, are we going to be hearing more Tony Stark, like, similarities? Which, obviously, I don't think it's going to be the case. Because, you know, Stark is dead. Unless if you're in the multiverse. He's gonna die eventually because, you know, we've seen the What If episodes and we saw how all those resulted. So I can't really see too much into it, which, you know, which is why I say I'm pretty excited. Oh man, sorry, this is Robert Downey Jr. playing Doctor Doom. Oh man, is he gonna do like some roars that he's never able to do as, you know, when he was playing Iron Man? Is he gonna, you know, say some calculations that, you know, makes him very menacing, where we even forget that this is the same guy that, you know, played the hero that started the Marvel Cinematic Universe all these years, and we've been having the long road trip all the way from Iron Man to Avengers Endgame with. And we hear impressions from Ross Marquand. I think that's who played him. And What If? I'm gonna double check that. Please don't sue me. A few moments later, Mick Wingert. Oh, okay. He does a pretty bang on impression of Tony Stark's mannerisms, his way of speaking, the tone of his voice. You know how. You know, he really did his studies right here to make it sound like or resemble somewhat like Robert Downey Jr. because we mostly identify with, you know, Robert Downey Jr. with Iron Man for, you know, probably all of eternity. But I think he's going to change the game right there. Robert Downey Jr., of course. And that's all like my thoughts that I have for the, you know, for Hall H, for speculations that I'm able to get from the, you know, the top of my noodle right here. And hopefully we get some more exciting news. Obviously we are. Oh my gosh, I forgot about Captain America Brave New World. So I'm already wrapping this up, so I'm just going to make this quick. Celestial, main event adamantium. I wonder if my best guess for, you know, what that has to do with Brave New World. People just want their hands on the adamantium. They got to get it off the wrong hands, especially when the leader is involved. And then you got the Serpent Society with Giancarlo Esposito, his character finally revealed. I know he's like the head honcho of the Serpent Society. Not before then, but just revealed tonight, and that makes it very interesting. I wonder how this is going to play out, especially with Red Hulk, you know, possibly president. I don't know yet. If my context clues have failed me. Thaddeus Ross, and played by Harrison Ford. He said you wanted a piece of that action if everybody else is having a great time with that. And Tim Blake Nelson's come back after so long since the Incredible Hulk. I thought it was just going to be a whole unanswered question of like, are we going to see the leader as the leader, Mr. Blue? And possibly we might get what's her name? Liv Tyler. There we go. Liv Tyler from Lord of the Rings and the Incredible Hulk returning as Elizabeth Betty Ross, who we have not seen in the Incredible Hulk. But how would this all culminate for, you know, the similar feels for the Winter Soldier, and now that, you know, Sam Wilson has the shield, how is he going to carry the government? How is he going to fight all these people? How is he going to settle all these disputes that's going on, especially with Isaiah Bradley, who he really, you know, looked upon and who he drew inspiration of how, like, what kind of Captain America he wants to be. And it's not just a repeat of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which for production notes, you know, hearing from the internet, it wasn't good, and it's basically repeating those same notes. I'm glad they're changing it around, and I hope they don't feel too discouraged about it. But, you know, it's something that makes, you know, audiences happy, the filmmakers happy, the actors happy, and hopefully, you know, everybody's happy-go-lucky on this one. All right, those are my thoughts and speculations. You guys have a good day. Be respectful, and yeah, have a good one. Adios, y'all.